Thank you, Dina, and thank you, colleagues. Greetings from my bunker in Monroe, Connecticut. I am honored to be here with all of you, presenting my work that analyzed what Imams preach in American mosques. There is reasonably a broad recognition of the fact that anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are common in the Middle East, specifically in Arab countries. Area opposition to the presence of a Jewish state has long been fueled not only by political convictions and imperatives, but also by religious beliefs. Both Israeli politicians and academic specialists worldwide are aware that Muslim imams in neighboring countries and in Gaza and on the West Bank play an important role in disseminating anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic views to Sunni Muslim communities. An imam is usually pictured as a prayer leader in a Muslim community, but his role is actually deeper than that. Imams are community leaders and faith models, according to 5 verses of the Quran. They have an impact not just on what people believe, but also on what they do. Whatever generalizations are made about imams in Arab countries, many in the United States want to believe that Islam is a religion of peace only, and that, at least in the United States, sermons and speeches by and interviews with imams embody that perspective in their comments about Jews and Israel. To begin investigating that matter, I accessed the large MEMRI, I'm sure you know MEMRI, the Middle East Media Research Institute, archive of Muslim sermons and lectures and selected documents.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
Very rich, very rich. Mm-hmm. I chose examples by 14 imams of American mosques for detailed study and analysis. MEMRI makes videos available, so the documents are reliable. The videos are either in English or translated into English, so the accuracy of translation is not an issue. I cannot establish how representative of all or most American imams' speech these khutbahs, a khutbah is an imam's speech, these khutbahs or other texts are. That would be a much larger project. What we can conclude is that some imams of American mosques engage in explicit anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic speech. My method included identifying the controlling frame or main argument of each sermon or lecture. One goal was to determine whether the khutbah was about Israel, Jews, or both. The dominant meaning of an imam's speech in the form of a khutbah or otherwise is often driven by religious frames. But a khutbah is a communication vehicle, delivering meanings where religion, ideology, and language interact. I was also interested in seeing what patterns linked these documents with major anti-Semitic traditions. We already know from work by other scholars, among them Matthias Kunzel and Jeffrey Herf, that Nazi propaganda was influential in shaping the development of Arab anti-Semitism. during the qualitative data analysis of few of American Imam sermons, a pattern of alignment between Muslim and Nazi anti-Semitisms emerged as well. It was also clear that these sermons and lectures echo the work of major Arab anti-Semites. The results of my analysis show that the khutbah, or the khutbahs actually, were not only about Jews, they were actually about the ewige Jude, the eternal Jew, and the anti-Semitic spirits of the Grand Mufti Haj Amin Husseini, Sayyid Qutb, and Osama bin Laden are present in some mosques of today's America. The analysis begins with a somewhat earlier example and move forward chronologically. In an interview with the website of the Egyptian Ikhwan, Ikhwan is the Arabic word for the Muslim Brotherhood. In June 2005, Imam Ahmed Duwaidar of the Islamic Society of Mid-Manhattan and the lecturer on Islamic studies at the Manhattanville College said, quote, "Many are interested in preventing our Muslim influence in American society. First and foremost, the Zionist lobby, which influences the media so that we, meaning Muslims, cannot spread our ideas and spotlight our leaders and our successful models. Even when a Muslim tries to work in the media, he has to contend with 5 million media employees who are controlled by the Jews." End of quote. He explained that, quote, "The Jews have despicable goals, and we, meaning Muslims, see their effects today in America's actions in the Middle East region, imposing its opinion and its outlook on democracy, education, and political involvement on our Arab and Muslim countries." End of quote. Therefore, Imam Duwaidar combined two frames, Zionists and Jews, to show that the former refers to the later. Then he focused on Zionists as a politically safe way to refer to Jews. Quote, "They, Zionists, control the government, politics, the economy, and the media in the United States. And as far as American society is concerned, the suspicion towards anything Islamic in the streets, in places of recreation and commerce, and in workplaces remains a heavy burden on the Muslim citizen in America. The media, most of which is under Zionist control, has helped to spread this perception." End of quote. Imam Duwaidar finished his anti-Semitic recipe with a call on American Muslims to unite against their fellow citizens who have Jewish roots. Duwaidar is partly borrowing from Osama bin Laden's influential 2002 letter to the American people. Quoting bin Laden in that letter, he said, quote, "Your law is the law of the rich and wealthy people who hold sway in their political parties and fund their election campaigns with their gifts. Behind them stand the Jews who control your policies, media, and economy. The Jews have taken control of your economy, through which they have taken control of your media and now control all aspects of your life, making you their servants and achieving their aims at your expense. We also call you not to continue your policy of supporting the Jews, because this will result and more disasters for you. This is why the American people cannot be not innocent of all the crimes committed by the Americans and Jews against us. End of quote. Bin Laden's anti-Semitism passed through the destruction of the United States. He truly believed that attacks on the United States and its allies amount to attacks on the Jewish state. He saw the United States as the father, creator, guardian, and protector of Israel. As he warns in his letter to Americans, quote, "The creation and continuation of Israel is one of the greatest crimes, and you are the leaders of its criminals." And of course, there is no need to explain and prove the degree of American support for Israel. The creation of Israel is a crime which must be erased. Each and every person whose hands have become polluted in the contribution towards this crime must pay its price and pay for it heavily. End of quote. The discourse of American imams sometimes extends the rage toward Israel, the United States, and world Jewry toward the logic of the final solution. In a series of interviews with the Egyptian Al-Nas, meaning the people, and Al-Rahma, meaning the mercy, TV stations in December 2008, Imam Salah Sultan, president of the American Center for Islamic Research, a non-profit organization registered in Ohio and located in Columbus, promoted killing all Jews in what appeared to be a manifesto for global genocide. Quote, "The Jew will never make peace or agree to it. The Jews will never accept any international resolution from East or West because they understand nothing but force, and they specialize in the shedding of blood, in crime, and in killing, even the killing of prophets." End of quote. He adds that, quote, "The protocols of the elders of Zion is an attempt to rule and corrupt the entire world." End of quote. And that the Jew views non-Jews as pigs. Efforts to demonize Israel continued. In 2010, Imam Musa of the Islam Mosque in Washington, D.C., told the Iranian press TV that 90% of the bombing plots in the United States, from the first World Trade Center bombing in '93 on, were carried out, quote, "by and with the help and the aid of Mossad." End of quote. Just in case you don't know, the Mossad is Israel's Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, responsible for counterterrorism, covert operations, and intelligence collection. The same year, Imam Abul Fazl Barham Nahidian of the Manassas Mosque in Virginia made Jews collectively responsible for terrorism while speaking to the crowd attending the 2010 Al-Quds. Al-Quds is Jerusalem. The 2010 Al-Quds Day Rally in Washington, D.C. Quote, "All the plots and the schemes that they, meaning the Jews, make are to destroy humanity. They, meaning the Jews, say, the land, the leadership, and the wealth of the world belong to us as the chosen people of God. Yes, they, meaning the Jews, are the chosen people of God to be the most devilish ones on the earth. They, the Jews, are doing that so they, the Jews, will stay above the rest of humanity. The variety of the plots that the Jews make, you know it. I don't have to tell you, but I will remind you. The Jews, created September 11. They blew up the buildings. End of quote. Between 2010 and 2012, Nazar Hussain, former Imam of Masjid Dar al-Quran in Long Island, New York, and former director of Islamic Studies for the Joint Committee of Muslim Organizations of Greater New York, applied global military ambitions to Israel. Quote, Israel has been impatiently waiting to provoke the messianic war of wars that it so anxiously wants to launch in order to achieve a number of objectives, some of which expand the territory of the imposter so-called Holy State of Israel until it encompasses its false biblical frontiers. End of quote. He then makes the territorial plans genocidal. Quote, it is almost certain that Zionists will soon wage biological war against the Arabs to bring about a substantial reduction in the population of the Arab world. End of quote. We can hear echoes of Nazi efforts to blame an imminent war in Europe on the Jews, and the remarks from other Imams, even Third Reich depictions of Jews as vermin. On July 14, 2017, Imam Ammar Shaheen delivered the Khutbah of the Friday sermon at the Islamic Center of Davis in California. He prayed to God, "O Allah," quote, "O Allah, liberate the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the filth of the Jews." End of quote. A week after that, on July 21st, 2017, Imam Shaheen again delivered the khutbah of the Friday sermon at the same ICD, and he again prayed to God, quote, "O Allah, liberate the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the filth of the Jews." End of quote. One may recall the passage of the Quran, specifically Al-Ma'idah 560, where the available interpretation says God made Jews into pigs, meaning inherently filthy. One may hear in such prayers strong echoes of the arguments of Sayyid Qutb, an Egyptian author, educator, revolutionary, Islamic theorist, poet, and a leading member of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood in the 1960s, actually in the 1950s and 60s. In 1966, he was convicted of plotting the assassination of Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser and was executed by hanging. Sayyid Qutb is considered as the father of Salafi jihadism, the religio-political doctrine that explains the ideological roots of global jihadist organizations such as Al-Qaeda and Daesh. Thus, in his book, Our Struggle with the Jews, published in 1950, and it was published many times after that, he wrote, "The Jews want to free the sensual desires," quote, "The Jews want to free the sensual desires from their restraints and destroy the moral foundation on which the pure creed rests, in order that the creed should fall into the filth which they," meaning the Jews, spread so widely on earth. They, the Jews, mutilate the whole of history and falsify it. From such creatures, meaning the Jews, who kill, massacre, and defame prophets, one can only expect the spilling of human blood and dirty means which would further their machinations and evil. End of quote. Qutb considered anti-Semitism as an essential element of the modern Islamic State, and Zionism as a satanic evil that Muslims must combat to reclaim their status in world leadership. He produced radical interpretations of the Quran, attempting to draw a defining, bolder borderline between the Judeo-Christian westernization he and his predecessor, Sheikh Hassan al-Banna, rejected, and the Islamic modernity he and al-Banna sought. Al-Banna was the founding father of the Muslim Brotherhood. In Arabic, we call them Ikhwan. Qutb used anti-Semitic frames to present the Jews in what Robert Wistrich describes as, quote, a metaphor and symbol for the danger of Western domination and immorality, as well as a continuing threat in their own right to the integrity of Islam, which they compulsively seek to destroy, end of quote. As Droll writes, quote, a direct line of influence, and that direct line I describe in terms of the communication theory of anti-Semitism. I will talk about it in the next paragraph. So going back to the paragraph, a direct line of influence, that is complex network of communicative frames and meanings, runs from Sayyid Qutb to Osama bin Laden and to bin Laden's Egyptian partner in terror, Ayman al-Zawahiri. From them, the line continues to another quietly seething Egyptian sojourning in the United States, the 9/11 hijacker, Mohammed Atta, end of quote. This is another supportive evidence to the communication theory of anti-Semitism I drafted in this analysis. The theory's defining statement is, anti-Semitism is a complex network of communicative frames and meanings antagonistic to the Jew, which stands the test of time, place, and manner. In a sense, anti-Semitism can be transmitted from one ideological context into another and shared from one social incubator into another without changes in its nature prejudicial against the Jewish people. Demonization of the supposed Zionist lobby by Imams can be equally intense. Imam and Quran scholar Mohammed Al-Azdee gave a sermon in Washington, D.C. during the Al-Quds, Jerusalem Day of 2018. He used the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, as a frame of reference to embrace anti-Semitism. Quote, the Zionist lobby in this country, United States of America, is very strong, probably the strongest lobby in this American government. AIPAC is probably stronger than what is called the Israeli Defense Force, probably stronger than Mossad, and probably stronger than the Israeli regime over there, and all of its structure combined. Yet, being what it is, you see American officials and politicians going to pay their homage to this Israeli lobby in this country every year. But the Zionist colonist, the colonial force in the Holy Land, referring to Jerusalem, should be dislodged. We prefer it be dislodged peacefully, but they, the Jews, don't prefer it that way. They are going to force us to dislodge it with every other means, barring peace. End of quote. A racist attack on Israel, familiar from the BDS movement, also finds its way into presentations by imams of American mosques. On December 9, 2018, Imam Naim Abdullah gave a lecture at the Nur Zaman Institute in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Quote, they, talking about Ashkenazis, took Judaism and made it a white supremacist religion. You have got black people that consider themselves Jews. They are not benefiting from Israel like everyone else, right? The religion of white supremacy has co-opted the religion of Judaism. End of quote. Of course, Israel is a multiracial society where Jews of Ashkenazi origin are a minority. But fidelity to the truth is not a hallmark of these presentations by anti-Zionist imams. Both in their more recent predecessors and in the discourse of contemporary imams, Jews and Israelis are interchangeable and are as are anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. Some imams in the United States are preaching violent anti-Semitism, posing threats to the lives of the Jews. However, in presenting the results of this study, I acknowledge that hate speech is constitutionally protected in the United States. But if it is the right of an imam to preach anti-Semitism, it does not mean that it is right to preach anti-Semitism, especially if the khutbah is genocidal. Admittedly, I was unable to track the effects of imams' anti-Semitic framing on audiences. Having said this, history shows that one individual who is ready to listen and act is enough to create a disaster. And the organizing frames of the individual texts are designed to maximize the impact on listeners. I began this project under the influence of some wishful thinking. I naively hypothesized that due to the long-term effects of the 9/11 attacks on American Muslims, the fact that the gaps between Jewish and Muslim Americans are smaller than previously thought, and because of the Quranic text, quote, and we, meaning God, inspire to them imams as community leaders and faith models, the doing of good deeds, end of quote, obtained from Al-Anbiya 21:73. Imams would not preach anti-Semitism in American mosques. I was wrong, and my own research proved how wrong I was. The khutbah was not only about Jews, it was actually about the ewige Jude, the eternal Jew. It is really painful that I now see things as they are. Quoting the Quran again, Kaf 50:22, indeed, you were oblivious to this. So we, God, removed your veil, and your sight today is as sharp as iron. End of quote. The stark conclusion seems inescapable. The anti-Semitic legacies of the Mufti, Qutb, and Bin Laden are still breathing fresh air in some American mosques. I call on policymakers, law enforcement, scholars and practitioners, and Muslim communities in the United States to act before it becomes too late to address this problem. I appreciate it. Thank you.